Welcome, everyone. You know what time it is. It is Aquarian Anarchy time. We got something altogether different from you. We are going to be talking with a director of an upcoming documentary that is going to be going down here in the next few months. The trailer's already out. We're gonna share that with you, and we're going to break things down with the one and only Augustus Edem, who I met via Clubhouse. Aquarian Anarchy is ready to trust the science. Let's go. And if you don't believe you should trust the science, ask Albert Einstein. Everything that is really great and inspiring is created by the individual who can labor in freedom. And man, oh man, have we been laboring in freedom so much in the last 3 years. It's been a tough go, but someone has been grinding that entire time, and he joins us here tonight. I met this man via Clubhouse and the preservation of the human race. We are 2 for 2, Marcus. We have interviewed 2 of my friends from Clubhouse on this show, and they're both named Augustus. Augustus Ponte, and now Augustus Edem joins us. And Augustus, welcome, and let's get into it, man. How you doing?
Yeah, how you doing, man? It's really good to be here. This is a great honor. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Well, it's exciting. I'm excited to see what comes out. Just seeing the trailer so far has been really eye-opening. I'm gonna pull that up in a little bit, and we'll go over that with the folks and let everybody see it here live, so they can know what they're preparing to see when you launch this thing.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about so your background, where you're from, where you live now, and what brought you to Clubhouse, and then what brought you to documentary film.
So yeah, look, so I'm from London, southeast London.
Wait a minute, I thought you were from Tennessee. I
tried to keep up for a little bit, and I just couldn't hold it down. But no, yeah. So I'm from southeast London. Sort of studied film in my younger days, multimedia, and I never really over the past sort of 15-20 years stopped loving the film, but I never really did anything with it. I worked for a few production companies, and I worked as a freelancer, but I was always only making adverts. But I always wanted to move into film, but documentary film, docufilm, right? And really kind of start educating people. I have this kind of propensity to push towards this desire to see human beings become their best, and I just don't really see that being lived in the world anymore. It's kind of like a broken dream. Do you know what I mean? Even my friends would always say to me, "Gosh, you're always on this humanity shit," and I'm like, "What the fuck are you on, bro?"
Right.
But what are you guys on? Do you know what I mean? What are you guys doing? But no, it's always been like a sort of dream to kind of make educational, emotionally, soulfully impactful pieces that kind of inspire people to take action. So, I've trained, like I said, in many disciplines, as a sound designer, as a music director, as a music producer, and as an editor. And for me, editing is the most important role in the filmmaking process. I mean, you write the script, okay, cool. You can direct on set, okay, cool, bruv. But it's like whatever comes out of the editing booth or the editing is the most important piece. And I think that for me, I've always tried to start with that. I've started with the end in mind. And so you can see, especially with all of this, I'm really kind of trying to get to the most important thing. And it's Fauci's the most important thing, or at least the lie, the saying itself, trust the science, is the most important thing. So you'll see that come through. But yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell.
So you're planning on attacking science, is what you're saying?
I mean, I'm about to get people to start fucking asking questions, which has been.
I'm just saying, any attack on Fauci is an attack on science. I'm just telling you,
right, for sure.
That's what we have been told. So
we're gonna get Fauci a bulletproof vest. It's fine.
So I gotta point it out. You're actually using the scientific method. What is wrong with you? I mean,
so So this is the thing. I mean, a black Trump supporter from the United Kingdom. I'm obviously a white supremacist.
Of course.
So these sorts. I mean, I'm conservative, right? And for me, Trump wasn't that bad. He did some things that were kind of, questionable, but whatever, right?
Sure.
The scientific method went out the window, didn't it? You're asking questions goes out the window. I always say to people, it's really funny, right? I say to people, it's one of my little audio memes, as I call them, verbal memes, right? You're listening, guys. You're listening, right? Because it goes, in the age of everything being critical law, critical gender, critical race, let's employ some critical thought and pay it a living wage, $15 an hour. Because it's funny how people these days are not allowed to think critically about anything, right? So questioning the science is, or just the act of questioning is part of the scientific method. And you have to be critical, right? You form your hypothesis and then you seek to destroy that or prove it. But in this entire process, we were not allowed any of that. And it's just insane to see. So yeah, I'm gonna
absolutely. So go ahead, Marcus.
I was just going to say, so when you started the film, and we'll get into kind of more of the details and all of that, would you say that in the UK that some of the more conservative portions of society were the ones that were questioning more, being that you come from that perspective? Would you say that's the case, or did they fall for it too?
So it's really funny. I mean, you've got people over here who were not really. So you've got the conservative thinkers who are a little bit pompous, and then you've got people like me who are conservative-ish in terms of our politics over here in the United Kingdom. I mean, it's the same sort of. We have the same philosophies as those who are in the across the ocean, right? We believe in we believe in Christ. I believe in Christ. Or we believe in, just conservative values, man. Do you know what I mean? Just
sure.
Just decency, right? And yeah, we had a few people over here who kind of are hardcore conservatives who didn't fall for it. But the funny thing was, it was more the sovereign crowd, those who kind of want to destroy their straw men, or do you know what I mean? Like those kinds of people that all speak about us. They were the people that you would find out on the rallies, man. The anti-communists. They weren't really conservative anything. They were either slightly libertarian or just anarchists. And it was really funny because it was really funny, man, because those are the people who really fought back, and those people, they were fighting the police. You never got to see any of that. They were like, recently outside the fucking. Pardon my. Can I swear? Can I swear?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We don't fucking put up with none of that shit, man.
Fuck yeah. No, Jesus. Let me open this beer, bro. So the only thing I've got to worry about is my housemates complaining, but it is what it is. So no, but the only sort of, we never saw any pushback. Oh, we if you were in the protests, you saw it, right?
Right.
We never saw that shit on TV, and I'm like, how is this possible? How are you not covering this? Recently, outside of the BBC, I didn't go to that protest. There's another protest this Saturday I'm going to. But yeah, like outside the BBC, and they held like a massive rally for a couple of hours outside the headquarters of the BBC. Now, the thing that people don't know about the BBC, right? The BBC is funded by the people. It's funded by the public. Like, we pay a TV fucking. Can you imagine? You pay a license to have your TV. We pay a license to have a TV, right? You can declare, you can tell them to go fuck themselves, but we pay like.
I would tell them to go fuck themselves.
I spell it in capital letters as well, but just so they know, right? but yeah, like it's really strange because we pay these TV licenses, right? So we expect these people to tell us about ourselves, to tell us about what's happening in our country. And outside of your headquarters, there's something so poignant taking place, and you don't even fucking report on it. But yet you're here reporting the bullshit, and it's like, mate, you've just exposed yourself. It's like, it's insane. It's like what's happening right now in America with Biden, right? Like, you're not all with the Pfizer. You're not the Pfizer executive. You're not reporting on that. It's so telling that you guys are kind of not bought and paid for, but fucking bought and paid for, man. So I don't know. It's really interesting to see because, again, it's when you go to these rallies, the cool thing is that it's not just made up of people like myself who are conservative-ish or the anarchists. It's those who kind of fight back against child trafficking. It's those who fight back against, and then fill in the blank. All of these people, all of these people coming together, and they're screaming "fuck you" to the establishment. So it's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah. So let's give the people a little taste of what you've got ready for them. This is the official trailer. I'm going to play it here, and hopefully you guys will be able to hear the audio full as well. I have that. All right, I have it turned up. So here we go. This is the ready to play. It's a 2-minute trailer for Trust the Science. This is the film that Augustus has put together that will be coming out this summer. So here we go. All that empty space, man.
So Anthony Fauci, throughout the pandemic, especially in relation to the vaccine, kept using this term, trust the science.
Yes.
Now, that's one of the most unscientific statements
exactly.
I've ever heard.
I kept thinking that.
Because medicine, first of all, is not an exact science, right? It's an applied science, not like physics or chemistry.
Right.
And the evidence changes. We're taught, for example, that 50% of what you learn in medical school will turn out to be either outdated or dead wrong within 5 years of your graduation. The trouble is nobody can tell you which half.
Right.
You have to learn on your own, right? So that didn't make any sense. So maybe Anthony Fauci doesn't, from my perspective, what I've seen, doesn't seem to have a basic understanding of evidence-based medicine, from what I've seen. That's
Seems that way to me too.
But in reality, and I don't mean that he was deliberately doing this, but in reality, from what we've discussed already, trust the science, in effect, we're saying trust the psychopath.
That man said, trust the psychopath.
That's right.
Yeah, that's so cool. It's so cool to see it on stage. You know, it's really cool, man. It's like, it's cool watching other people's reactions or just seeing it being playing in the background. I'm like, yes, that's what I want to see more of, man. So I appreciate this space.
Yeah, absolutely. So you know, one of the things that was interesting for us, like Marcus. So it's kind of crazy that this is coming together now, because the first show that Marcus and I ever did together, this is Marcus's channel, Marcus's show, and he invited me to come on as a guest almost 3 years ago. It was April of 2020, and we talked about all this stuff, and we could see what was coming. And I told him Marcus had never seen Demolition Man. I was like, you got to go watch Demolition Man. That's where we're headed. That's where this thing is pointing us, because it's going to be like, you can't touch anybody. You're going to get credits taken away for saying things that they don't want you to say, all this kind of stuff. Like, sure enough, here we are. It's right, you know, right down to the nano bit. We're gonna have an underground society where we're gonna be eating rat burgers. You know, all this stuff is like, it looks like it's coming. So that was April of 2020. I've been talking to you probably since like late 2020, early 2021. When did you know something was up?
Oh, bro, look, you know, Alex Jones is a hell of a drug, right? And so back in the day, I remember when I first sort of encountered Alex Jones. My mum's a heavy Christian, right? The picture the scene is a Saturday evening. You know, my mum's at prayer meeting, and I'm watching on Channel 4, which used to be one of the best, like, the most epic channel on UK television. Like, they used to have the most cutting edge sort of documentaries. Like, Channel 4 was the Vice magazine when Gavin McGuinness was still sort of running the shit, right? Like, it was cutting, it was out there, right? Doing real shit. Today it's cucked. It's cucked, bruv, right?
Yeah.
Both of them, both Vice and Channel 4. So when I think about, what was it? So I was watching this program called They, right? No, was it called They? Them, I think it was.
No,
and it was about.
I think you're right. They, with the aliens.
Oh
no! There was a program based on it was based on all these different people who have conspiracy theories, right? Like a different documentary maker, or like an episode each week. It's kind of shot in the style of a documentary, right?
Mhm.
and Alex Jones was the individual, and he's sneaking into Bohemian Grove. I'm like, who the fuck is this? He's killing it. He's like, they're pissing on the trees, like sort of thing. He's confronting people. I'm like, what the fuck? This guy's a genius, bro. And he starts talking about how the queens are flipping blood-sucking demon, draconian. No, he's saying the alien, all of this sort of stuff. I'm like, that's interesting, bro. Anyway, my mom comes back from prayer meeting like an hour later. She goes, in a Nigerian accent, Augustus. I'm like, what's going on? Augustus. I'm like, what is it? This is how an African bear. Augustus, come here. You're like, what is it? You just tell me what you want. She goes, I need to tell you something. I go downstairs. Me and my little sister sitting downstairs because our flat was, the bedrooms are downstairs and the front door was downstairs, and upstairs was where you get the living room, right? So we come downstairs, sitting on the stairs. She's standing at the door, closes the door. She proceeds to tell us that the queen, that she was at, prayer meeting, and they found out today that the queen is a demon and they suck blood. And I'm like, what are the chances of that? Synchronicity.com/now. So I'm like, okay, cool. This is crazy, right? So I'm like, okay. And then I started to investigate that a little bit more, right? Then the internet obviously got big. I would spend many a night, because I had insomnia, right? As a child, I'd spend many a night just researching things from the Rosicrucians to, the fucking, what's today's big thing? The Anunnaki, but it wasn't really a big thing back then. But you know what I'm saying? Like that sort of stuff. I've even forgotten the question, but I feel myself.
Well, just like, how did you know, like when January, February 2020 drops? Like,
so
how do you know?
There
like,
we go. There we go.
This shit is off.
Yeah. Got you. So Alex Jones has been going on about all of this since then, and I kind of was hip to it since then. But then you start to see these things start to form, right? There's like there's like a change in the wind, and I would say it was probably about when BLM came onto the market, right? I was like, this isn't real, because what they're fighting for isn't what black people are fighting for. And it was a massive, like, nearly the entire black community in the UK were like, nah, that's not our movement, bro. We don't gel with that. What the fuck is Marxism, right? Like, what's all that about, bro? And I started to think, I was like, hold on, the Marxists really got to the black power movement back in the day, because the fist that they're putting up is the communist fist. And I'm like, hold on. And then it sort of sent me on this whole sort of investigation. And then I've been predicting events ever since. And I've got a whole bit about that. Take about like a 20-minute fucking talk on that, about how, BLM and Antifa are all part of, and Extinction Rebellion are all part of a greater agenda to help usher in the fourth industrial revolution. You know what I'm going to say? Like, it's all part of that. They're in fact being funded by the same organizations, the asset management firms that sit on the fucking board. It's genius. It's genius.
No, it's really smart if you think about it. Like, you see people who are upset with what you're doing, and so you find a way to infiltrate their movement and make their movement about helping you do what you're doing. Yeah. It's genius.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant, bro. It's brilliant. And this is what I keep saying to people. They don't see it at first, and then as soon as they get it, they're like, fuck's sake. And I'm like, yeah, because you wouldn't think like that, because you're not thinking like a psychopath, right? And you're not allowing yourself to put on your conspiratorial, your conspiracy specialist hat on, bruv. Mine, I have to say, is made of wool, but it's inside filled with loads of tinfoil. And I think as soon as people sort of get that hat on and they start to see things as they are, or as they could be from the perspective of these people, you start to realize that you shouldn't be trusting the science at all. It's all part of the plan. So so yeah, I'd say the advent of BLM was when I first sort of got wind of this bullshit taking over.
In a lot of what you talked about is very true. Right, had to get his tinfoil hat.
I went ahead and got my tinfoil kufi. So here we go. So funny, I'm ready to go now.
Right on. So what you're saying is absolutely true. That some of these. What we're led to believe some of these groups that rose up in this period of time were about is nothing about what they were about. they just used an excuse. And again, the government is good at this, but you're also right in the fact that when people open their eyes and they start to look at things, it changes their perspective. I just watched a video by Larkin Rose today, and one of the things that he talked about was that we need to stop trying to get people to wake the fuck up.
Right.
That's not going to work.
Right.
But people have to figure this shit out on their own.
Right.
They have to now give them our show or your movie or those kinds of things so that they can learn information as they're going, but they have to make that decision.
Right.
We can't make it for
We
them.
can't make it for them, bro.
Yeah.
Right.
You can bring them, but you can't make them drink. They got to decide that they're thirsty.
Right.
Yeah.
And but you're right that once they change, that mindset has moved. And for me, I'm used to talking about anarchy and talking about bringing people to anarchist ideas, but it's the same. As soon as people start seeing the government for what it is, for nothing more than a mafia gang writ large, nothing more than criminals who happen to achieve political power, once people see that, they don't go back. There's no returning, because what are you going to do? I mean, you can't be like, okay, you're a criminal, but you're a good criminal.
Yeah.
You're
stealing shit that I like stealing.
Right. So you're absolutely right about that. That is exactly what's happening.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's funny that you say that though as well. And I'm just thinking about, how people. I was just thinking to myself, what's a good way to take something that's already out there? Because I like doing that, taking things that are already out there and making them relevant. You say to people, teach a man how to fish. Give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, right? And I'm like, give a man contacts and he'll see for a day. Teach him how to see, and he will be able to see for a lifetime. And that's what we're basically doing. We can't be giving people contact lenses because at the end of the day, they're just going to fucking discard them, bruv. But if we show them how to look at reality and how to see things for what they actually are, these people become the biggest fucking, soapbox like preachers on the planet, bruv. Because they have the most now to prove, because they've been made a fool of essentially, and now they have to kind of reclaim their sovereignty in a sense. So I completely gel with that, man, and I've kind of got to the point where I'm done talking, but it's time for the action.
For sure.
So how did you kind of like make your way through this stuff? Because in the UK, like it's a whole different level. Like I live in the city in Louisiana, but I travel enough to different places where I'm in a lot of rural areas, and even like here, you can get around a lot of stuff where they're even some of the mandatey type stuff. There were ways to kind of scoot around that stuff. I saw some of the stuff on TV. How does that translate like real life? What did you see on the ground, and like how did you navigate it?
Nah, so I never moved. So I stayed in my house, bro. Like I felt like I was in prison, but I done my time. Do you know what I mean? We say you do your bird, like your stretch of time, bro. Like I did my bird. I stayed in. I went out occasionally to march, and then I ordered most of my food, or my shopping, and I just let people deliver it. I'm not fucking going out there, bro. It'd be crazy. And the thing was, the funnier thing was, I never got vaccinated. Obviously, I mean, do I look like a Joe Biden supporter, bro? Are you mad? But
Kamala Harris said she wasn't going to get it either. If Trump said to get it, she said, if Trump says to get it, I'm not going to get it. And Trump still keeps saying to get it. So I'm with her. I'm not getting it.
Well,
I heard it here there first.
I have to say, Kamala Harris is my power animal, but so look, this is fucking. But no, but
mine's Bob Ross.
So no, I decided I'm just gonna stay. But the funny thing was that bless their cotton socks, right? It's kind of like it's kind of like an insult, British insult. Bless your cotton socks. My housemates got vaccinated and they all caught COVID, and I never got vaccinated and I never caught COVID. So it's just like, make that make sense, bro. Make it make sense.
Tell me you didn't get it.
Are you crazy, bro? I never got it once. I got.
Let's go.
I never got it once, bro. I got the flu at the end of last year. They kept fucking with me, but I know it wasn't coronavirus. I didn't have any of the coronavirus symptoms. I had flu-ish symptoms, like I couldn't move properly, not because I
Sure.
couldn't smell anything. Like I just never had coronavirus, but like I know that it wasn't the same thing. So it was interesting. People who still fight to this day that, you know, that they're the better person. I'm like, go ahead and be the person with the go ahead, Jesus Christ superstar, go and do your thing, brother. I'll be over here. I'm vaccinated, mate. So
and it's so funny though, because I'm sorry, I find it hilarious that you didn't get it and everybody else did, and you were the only one not vaccinated. I'm sorry that I find that funny, but I do. But you make a good point though. I got sick, and I say that I got sick with COVID at the beginning of last year, about this time last year.
Right.
I say that, but I don't actually know because I didn't go get tested or nothing. Because fuck all that. I'm not going to believe any of these idiots anyway.
Right.
But I could have just gotten a flu because that's the symptoms I had.
Right,
I didn't ever have the no tasting thing. I didn't ever have the, you know, all of that. So you make a good point. I say I believe that I got COVID last year, but I don't really know that.
Right.
You ever heard that thing where they say that this sounds like a solution looking for a problem, you know, and they say like, you know, your only tool is a hammer, so you're just looking for nails.
Right.
I felt like that was kind of the way that thing was. Like so like I had told you in our little WhatsApp chat, like I'm going to try to be careful and use code language here, but here's what I think happened. I think that if you look at the symptoms list, it is so long that like it covers everything from headaches to diarrhea to, you know, like all the other things that, you know, your toes being funny or whatever. There's all kind of like, it could be practically anything.
You got COVID.
Yeah, it could practically be anything. So like if you had anything, everybody's like, oh gosh, let me go get tested. Let me go check. Like what?
Right.
We get like, then you get tested. Then they tell you to go home, drink fluids, get some rest. And they had no other, like, it was just seemed like a complete waste of time to me. And I just was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm not even going to bother with that. I thought the contact tracing stuff was all stupid too, where it was like, you're just sending people who have nothing wrong with them. You're putting them in quarantine, quote unquote, which quarantine was supposed to be like, you quarantine sick people to keep them away from the healthy people. We were quarantining healthy people to get them away from other healthy people because somebody else might or might not have been sick because they tested positive for something that we don't even know if they had, if it was a thing in the first place. Anyway,
it was insane.
What's that?
It was insane. It was insane to watch
was.
the dance. It was like, what the fuck? Like these people just, you're right, man. So that whole thing, it just seemed to me again. So one of the things I'm going to be doing in this film is, so what I'm going to do in this film is demonstrate the psychological warfare that took place. Right? You know, the neurolinguistic programming, the hypnotic language that was used, the language patterns that are used in marketing to kind of get people to say certain things, like it's just this idea of say, you know, this melodic feel to chants such as "My body, my choice." It's perfect as a statement, right? It just works. It's like Black Lives Matter, it works. Do you know what I mean? These things are just perfect linguistic fucking, you know, spells, if you want, right? That's what I think it is. It's like
social distancing was another one.
Right. Social distancing. Like again, they are maybe 3 or 4, like 3 words or 4 syllables or whatever. They just work, right?
They work as a mantra.
Right, as a mantra, right? And you know, we're going to be touching on the manipulation, all that sort of stuff. That's Act 1. Act 2, we're going to demonstrate where these things took place. So Act 1 is going to be like a sort of university lecture. It's going to be fun. I'm going to throw in some graphics, keep you entertained, right? And then, you know, Act 2, we're going to show you. We're just going to show you. We're not going to say that this is what it is. We're just going to say, out of everything we've shown you, what do you think this is? Do you know what I mean? This is an idea. You're saying it now, and then maybe by
that's great.
The film comes. But what do you think this? Because I don't want to make it partisan. I don't want people to kind of shoot it down and say, "Oh, it's just a right wing this." No, it's not, bruv. Because I'm gonna speak to everybody, and I'm gonna show you that what took place is not political. I mean, it's political, but it's not political. Do you know what I'm gonna say? So Act 3, and I'm gonna speak to both sides of this. So yeah, no, I just find it funny because I do this all the time. I start talking about one thing and I take it somewhere else. I find it funny that people just just don't see that this whole thing has been a massive psyop. And so when I see people with their contact tracing and their little apps and their little, for me, they're being put through a sales funnel or a training program to get them to now to accept the new normal, right? And so when we're hearing today about the 15 fucking minute cities, right?
Yeah.
Or now in the United Kingdom, there's these supposed zones that you're not allowed to leave. It's like, or now people, if there's a couple of people together congregating, you can get done for attempting to start a riot. It's like, it's perfect. This is what's been happening. And they've been training us and we've not been aware of it. 2 years to slow the spread. I thought it was 2 weeks.
Right.
So, you know, I don't know.
For sure, and James Corbett covered some of this stuff recently as well. You know, talking about that their end goal, because you're right, to connect the 15-minute cities and what they did over the last 2 years with this pandemic. But at the end of the day, where they're aiming, I think, is and both of those play into that, is to a technocratic system. It is, and to cite my source, I was convinced by James Corbett. He's the one that came up with that, but I think he's right. I think they're pushing for it's not just a one world government. They're looking at a way of controlling people using technology and getting them to a point where the technology supersedes their intelligence and their capability to reason. And these are just the first preliminary steps to getting there. Would you agree with that?
100%. 100%. I mean, if you only have to, give me 1 second, you only have to listen to what these people, 1 second, just might go. You only have to listen to what these people are saying at the WEF. You know, you only have to listen to, I always say this, like the, I think it's the CEO of Nokia talking about how by 2030 we'll be building mobile. What does he say? He says the tradition. I've got a bit of a list, man. The traditional mobile phone will not be the most popular means by which people communicate with each other via device. Like all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but people will start to have mobile phones built into their bodies. What the fuck are we talking about here, bro?
Did you ever see that Stretch Armstrong series on Netflix where they had that thing with the smart mark, where it was like a chip? It was a chip. Oh, I got to send it to you. So it's a chip. This is something that came out, I want to say like in 2018 or 2019, maybe even earlier than that. But it was not long before this. But so it's a cartoon series. But they have this thing where like this company that like runs the whole city or whatever offers everybody this new technology where it's like you get this chip and you can like social media from it, you can stream from it, you can watch TV on it, and also pay for everything with it. And you know, everybody just goes and they walk in and they're like, I didn't know how much I loved this thing. And then sure enough, they activate the chip and they make everybody go find Stretch Armstrong and his little crew of people. And they're like, they activate them and they all turn and they're like, must find, you know, whatever.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So it's like,
that's crazy.
And I was reading, so like to get ready for this, because you and I were talking about the 5th generation warfare stuff. And I was like, all right, let me go brush up, because I was trying to think through like the first 4 generations before. So it's like, you know, the first one is like your normal like standing armies, like lined formations and all this stuff where it's like really, and then you started having like the flanking maneuvers and all this like more strategic type stuff and weird, you know, tactics that were seen as like not fair because they were unconventional. But then you went into like guerrilla warfare, and then you went into the 4th generation, which was the warfare that we had with like all of our proxy wars of the last several decades. But then you get into this new 5th generation warfare, which is a war on the mind through propaganda, through all this, like you said, like neurolinguistic programming and everything else. And it's talking about how like what it's a Stephen Corbett, James Corbett, Stephen Colbert, my bad. It's a James Corbett, Corbett report article as well for that. But he was talking about like the next steps are, then you have the neurological warfare where like it's chipping you and all this stuff like Neuralink, like Elon Musk is trying to push. And then they talk about like, biological warfare. Like some of this stuff might not just be well, I don't want the chip. Doesn't matter if you want it. If they drop the little nano bomb and they nanoparticle your ass, you're going to have that shit anyway. And so like the things that we have to do to prepare ourselves are starting to get to the point where the only thing we have left at that point is like, I think is like our faith and our ability to say like, you know what, if you go ahead and kill me, I'm not going to give in. You'll just have to kill me and make me a martyr because I don't know what, like I'll fight to the point that I can fight. But at some point you just have to be like, all right, I'm going to try to get my heart and soul right. And the rest of it's going to take care of itself.
I fully agree, bro. I feel like the only way we can protect ourselves is if we build up a Wakanda, right? With our own little dome. And I'm saying that because, Wakanda kind of is a fictitious African nation that it's hidden away, right, in the forest. Has this little dome over it that you can't even see into the country, right? And that's kind of what we need. Right. We just need to get the fuck away from all of this, man. But the thing is, though, right? This is what I have to say to people. They haven't won. Because if their victory was assured, then the propaganda would not be necessary, right?
For sure.
And so it's true, the fifth generation of war is, it's social engineering, it's propaganda, it's artificial intelligence, it's non-kinetic warfare, right? And so how do you do that? It's like this whole thing of how does it go? What does it go? It goes, the supreme art of war is to defeat the enemy without raising your sword, right? And all war is based on deception. So if you can deceive your enemy to the point where you don't even need to raise your sword, that he doesn't even believe he's worthy of the fight, that he believes himself to not even have a chance at fighting, you've won. You're the supreme fucking warrior. But they're forgetting we also have access to the same literature, motherfuckers, and we are also warriors. You motherfuckers are weirdos. We're not. So it comes to the point where you have to get us with your little jabs and kill our brothers who would actually fight. And now, athletes can't even run for like 20 minutes without dropping dead. And you've got the unmitigated goal to tell us that they're dying due to climate change. Are you taking a fucking piss? Are you taking a piss? But, this is where it is, man. And I fully agree. The only thing, I suppose, if we allow ourselves to succumb to their propaganda in that we believe that we don't have a chance is our faith. But I think our faith itself can also strengthen us, right? It can also bring us to that point where we go, you know what? You shall not pass, and I will die because I will fucking die before I allow you to terrorize that which stands behind me. So
I got my kids behind me, and I'm not gonna let you touch them.
Right, exactly. So more conversations like this off of the apps. More building, more culture building, like I'm attempting. No, I'm not even doing that. I'm just exposing, but more culture building where we're pushing back against their narrative, I think is the way forward. Because if everybody started to kind of create something that was not a part of the absurd circus that we are subjected to daily, then we would actually start having content that would change the narrative and make their narrative look as pathetic as it actually is. So.
I would actually take what you've said a little bit farther. I wouldn't say that they're where I would take it is that they're not just like, the propaganda is not necessary. I would go as far as that they're losing. And where they're trying to do is they're trying to grab onto as much power as they possibly can, because I'm not hopeful. Like a few years ago, I was hopeful enough to say that I thought in my lifetime we'd see real freedom. I'm not that hopeful anymore. But I would say that my kids stand a very good chance of seeing freedom in their lifetime, because I see the crumbling around us of the institutions of tyranny that have been built up for thousands of years are falling apart like they're nothing more than wet paper. And I also will say that when I believe that we were going to, achieve freedom in my lifetime, I was staring at around 12 people that I could look at and say, yeah, these 12 people, they're on my side. Now we're in the thousands and
Mhm.
hundreds of thousands. And what they have managed to do, because they're failing at fighting us back, is they have managed to strengthen our numbers based on the fact that no one believes them anymore.
Mhm.
Nobody trusts the media. Nobody trusts the government. And the more that
And like we were talking about with Dutch today, they don't even trust their doctors because their doctors are bought and paid for in a lot of cases. And you have to go find someone who you can actually have a conversation with, who isn't going to threaten to turn you in or take your kids from you or something like that, and is actually going to like listen to your wishes for the health of your family. It's gotten crazy.
So
Sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just going to take it to the next question. And, with all of that said, there is, I have questions of whether COVID was ever real.
Yeah. He's not. He was just joking.
Yeah.
He's not.
YouTube. He doesn't actually mean that. He's saying he's actually about to ask ChatGPT, and he's formulating a prompt to see what the response would be.
He has a friend. He has an imaginary friend whose name is COVID, and he's not sure if
I'm not sure he's real.
Right. And so that's all he's talking about. But assuming that the magic virus was not magic.
Right. Assuming that, but let's say that it was a real thing. What solution or reaction do you feel? Because it's obvious you don't feel that the state had the right solution for a real problem. What would you say the right solution would have been? What's your opinion?
So can I just pause that question and just say something that sort of came to mind? So recently a thought that I've been kind of mulling over, and me and my girl have been kind of thinking about the same sort of thing. She said something to me the other day. She goes, I feel like we're missing something. I goes, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. So I feel like we're missing something, right? And I was thinking about it. And for a while, I've been saying to people, I hate when people say, oh, I saw it in a movie, so it has to be real. It's like, are you a dickhead? It's like believing declassified documents from the CIA prove that something was a reality. It's like, it's the CIA, that their job is to lie to you, bro. What are you talking about? But it's not then to negate the fact that you can't get truth from the declassified documents. And it's not to say that you cannot get truth or extract truth from movies, right? I say that to say, the Matrix, the film, is a great analogy for what potentially could happen, physically or psychologically, what takes place, or spirit, or whatever, right? All of the Lees, Addison Lee, spiritually, emotionally, Bruce Lee, all of the Lees, right? But when I think about it, it's like the architect accounted for Neo. So Neo and his merry men believed him to be the one, and the architect knew that he was just a function of the system. Yeah, think about that. So I think about those who were 2001 woke, post 9/11, as opposed to this woke shit we've seen today, right? That understand, that something's not quite right? That there is a splinter in their minds, and they're trying to figure out what this fucking system is. We call it the Matrix because that's what we've been given, the word we've been given to use to refer to it, right?
Yeah, like a predictive programming for us to be like, yeah, you're in the Matrix.
Hey. Right, exactly, bro. Exactly. Because it's culture building. This is what I'm saying. It's culture building. These people are building the fucking cultural narratives that we'll use to explain their fuckery, bro. It's genius. It's genius. They own all of the institutions, the media institutions, the news outlets, the everything, right? So I say to myself, what if we're Neo, thinking we're the ones with the sacred knowledge and the understanding, but we've been accounted for? What are we talking about? It's a scary thought. The scary thought is that we believe ourselves to be the ones who are free, but really we are no less useful than the other idiots. Because maybe we're missing something. The Klaus Schwab of the world, the Klaus Schwab himself, he's such a fucking Bond villain, right? It's obvious. It's too obvious.
Yeah, it's too obvious. No, you're right. It is too obvious. All he needs is a hairless cat to be sitting on his lap in a spinning chair.
Hey, good to see you, Mr. Bond. It's just like, come on, bro. What the fuck? But so if that's the case, and because I think we're witnessing the rise of the Fourth Reich. I think we're witnessing, what would happen if the Germans and the Zionists got together and started a fucking cartel, right?
Called it America.
and called it Ukraine, ancient day Khazaria. I don't want to go there.
Right.
But you know what I'm saying? Called it America, called it New York, right? We would then start to see how certain things that have taken place all make sense, right? We are today living through Hitler's wet dream.
Oh, for sure.
Are you joking? Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What the fuck are we talking about here, right? So I asked myself, if that was the case and there were people behind Hitler at the time, are those same people not again after, you follow the generation theory and everything kind of exists on an 83 year, 85 year sort of cycle, and it's 4 quadrants, the 4 archetypes. I don't know if you know about this, but there's a book called The Fourth Turning that kind of speaks to all of this, right?
I'm aware of it.
But yeah, we're essentially in the winter period, right?
See, I'm sorry, I have to interrupt because the number guy in me. There's a couple of important numbers in that frame. Are they certain about because generally the occultocracy, the people that you're talking about, tend to work in magical like numbers. It would make sense to me. The number 72 is a massive magical number. It's the 72 letter name of God from the Hebrew system. And it's also like if anybody follows like the Satanist Anton LaVey, the Shem Hemfresh, that's the 72. And so they say it because they believe if you say it correctly, it'll unmake reality because you've said this special name.
Don't say that shit correctly, Marcus. Damn.
right, for sure. But I'm just curious, are you sure about the number, or could it be because 72 is a massive number and 93 is a massive number but 85, 81, those aren't as big of numbers. Are you certain of the numbers?
Yeah, so it's basically the life cycle of a human being, right? The lifespan of a human being. So, and it makes sense because within the lifespan of a human being, there are kind of 3 generations born after him. So it's basically, this idea. I mean, look, let's do a quick Google search.
I'm guessing the average lifespan right now is 72 years. Last track I had it was 73.
You're really holding on to the 72, aren't you, bro?
I am. The numbers are a gig,
it's like dying for him. He's like, it's 72, motherfucker. No, but it's like
Marcus is Muslim. He's just waiting for his virgins. That's all it is.
That's right.
Yeah, you got the hair for it and the beard.
I know.
So no, but no, it's this idea that within the generation within this span of a human life, there will be 3 generations that come after him, and it kind of fits nicely with the whole saying, strong men create good. Was it?
Strong men create good times. Good
There we
times
go.
create soft men.
Yep.
Soft men create hard times. Basically, that and
Hard
hard times create strong men, and it's
Right.
just a cycle that
The cycle
regenerates.
continues, Wu-Tang, as I always say, right? And we're kind of in the period where the weak men are now going to have to become stronger men in order to deal with the fucking shit. And in my mind, if you know that because if you keep scaling it back, you're always going to get some sort of revolution or like a massive war, right? If you go back 80 years, you get, excuse me, that was disgusting. You get World War II. You go back 80 years, you get like another sort of mad sort of thing. There's like some sort of revolution. You go back and you got I forget now, but we'll do this. We'll trust my science, right?
there you go.
But when I'm saying all of that to say, it's almost as if you know all of this, right? Then you will create events to make sure you benefit from the what's the word I'm looking for? The inevitable. Right?
Right.
So if you know that civilization is going to sort of destabilize, right, then you would then invest in the next civilization that's going to rise up.
Right.
And what is the saying? Thucydides' trap, in that and you know how that goes, right? So China's the rising superpower. It's going to challenge America. I mean, they can't really challenge America because it relies on America in order for it. But now that they have the Belt and Road Initiative, they can kind of say fuck you to America. They don't really need America. But they kind of do at the same time, right? They kind of do because who's really got all the money, right? But then the dollar's not really worth anything anymore because America's not going to have access to oil. It's just a whole fucking mess. So I don't see it I don't see it the way that most people see it. But I do see that there's something crazy happening, but I do see that these people who understand this, and it's not 72, mate. It's not 72, Marcus. It's about 80, 83 years. They understand, because they're saying like a world war, if you follow this whole sort of understanding of generation theory, by 2025, we're going to be in World War III. And the World War III will be between China, Russia, and America, and NATO, basically. So I interjected because there was something I wanted to clear up, and I kind of get lost in the moment. But
It's okay.
It's that there is something planned about this in my head, and we can all see it. But they're following an understanding of cycles that most people don't actually understand. And and this is something I want to do in my next film. I don't want to do it in this film. I want to do it in maybe a part 2 or a completely different film, is explain how cycles, how these people think, right? How I've come to understand how these people think, and how you can prepare yourself accordingly. Because if I can understand this shit just from reading other people's work, then the layman can understand it, and you can't refute it if I can back it up with evidence to suggest.
Right.
Do you know what I'm trying to say to you? So again, I do apologize because I kind of go off on my things, but I don't apologize.
Oh, no.
You know,
No.
sorry, not sorry. So
It's obvious you haven't watched our show, because this is what happens. we go off on tangents forever.
That's why I asked you how long we had you, because you know
Right.
you never know where it's gonna. We follow the yellow brick road, and it
Right.
sometimes it takes us to a poppy field. Anyway, no. So Marcus, you had one more, I think.
I actually have a couple more questions.
Oh, you have a couple more.
But I do want to, I do want to say about what he just said, that this is exactly what, so that you know, I have a deep faith, but I wouldn't call myself a Christian. I am a follower of Jesus, but I have a background in ceremonial magic. So I kind of understand where they're going with some of these things. And one of the things that you train as a magician to do is notice the patterns exactly like what you're talking about.
Right.
That is something that, like, when it's something that is ingrained in you when you're training to be a magician. And I don't mean like sleight of hand. I mean magician, like calling angels and doing that kind of thing. Right. So, but you're trained to watch the patterns. So if these people are, black magicians and doing, Satan's bidding, if you will, of course they're going to follow these and try to do it, because the patterns are the basis of all forms of magic, is following those patterns and aligning yourself with those patterns. So I just wanted to say that. The next, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. You're right. I also too. I didn't study magic, but I investigated it,
Sure.
and so I get it. Again, my brain is almost it notices patterns. I always say, and it's probably not my saying, so I'm probably plagiarizing somebody, right? But I always say, intelligence. I always say it, but it's not mine. Intelligence. I like to claim it's mine, but I don't think it's mine. Intelligence is the capacity to recognize patterns between seemingly different systems, right? And then and then the ability to articulate them makes you a genius. And so most people can't even see that. They can't even see. They can't say anything because they're fucking blind as shit. Again, teach a man to see, and he'll be able to see for a lifetime. Most people can't even fucking put in their contacts properly without the little droplets. Right. So they're not willing to try and wake up to what reality is. But when you study that, not even at length, but a little bit, maybe to what you're talking about, maybe some occult practices, some hidden shit, right? And you start to understand how these people think, then you're like, okay, cool, I see what's going on here. I see what's happening. You guys are doing this thing, and it's all based on and the stars and the calendar. You start to see it. You can't unsee it. So again, that's probably what's helped in part shape my capacity to see. And then, I like to talk shit and educate, so I can just tell people. But
well, so he brought this up, and it was a minute after you had said your piece on this, but I wanted to throw this one your way, because Jimmy Coe, he says, sorry I'm behind, but he says you can lead a man to knowledge, but you can't make him think.
Roy, that's a gangster one.
That's a really
t-shirt
good one
right there, bro. Are you joking?
For sure.
That's some good shit right there. So I had to bring it back up.
Sorry, Chad. I thought I had accidentally hit it and brought it back.
Oh yeah,
Brought it
no,
back
that
up.
was me. I was like, damn, why you take it away? But
Yeah.
yeah,
You
see,
can
Brody's
lead
thinking the
a
way I was
man to
thinking.
knowledge, but you can't make him think. You
Yeah.
motherfucker. Whoever you
Yeah.
are, that was gangster. Bro.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I gotta say, Brody was thinking along my wavelength when Marcus was talking about black magicians and he's talking shit about them. He said, "Why they gotta be black?" I was thinking the
Exactly.
same
I
thing.
was thinking the same thing just as you said it. I'm like, what the fuck
Racist ass
is this?
motherfucker, man.
I'll tell you
I feel like-
what.
I feel like you're a little bit racist there, Marcus.
That dude in yellow,
Little bit
man. I'll
racist.
tell you what. He is blue from the waist down, and I'll tell you what. He just I don't know
Like
what
an
to do with
avatar,
him. So
Like
my
a
final
Smurf.
right. So my final question was, what do you? So all of this assumes that this was a plan, and they're doing these things on purpose. We've talked about all of that.
Mhm.
What do you feel?
Doing these things on purpose. That's such a funny way to put it. It's like a child that's been naughty. It's like we've seen that you're doing these things on purpose. Stop it.
Right. Smack their hand. Stop doing that.
Just go and
Yeah.
sit down, man. You know,
Right. You need to go sit in the corner. But I think Anthony Fauci needs a very long sit.
That's
in
what
the corner.
Davos is for. They go sit in their corner and
Right. Well,
Right.
yeah.
so-
So
plots
what do
of-
you feel that these psychopaths learned from this experience? What are they learning? Because everything to them is just an experiment. What do you feel like they've learned?
It's a good question. I don't know if I think they've learned that they can get away with anything and nobody will do nothing. Right?
Mm.
Because so think about this, right? If a company knows that say a company makes drinks, soft drinks, and they sort of put this, they don't use sugar, and maybe they use an aspartame for you guys who with a weird way of saying things, the Americans. They use an aspartame,
We
right?
say aspartame.
Yeah,
But
it's
you
just
say
weird, okay.
aspartame.
We say
Okay.
maybe I'm the fucked up one.
I
So
don't know.
so in the eye. But no, so you've got a company that's using aspartame as opposed to naturally occurring sugars, like you maybe use honey if you're more health conscious, right? And then maybe say you serve that to X amount of people, right? And your profits over 5 years are say $10 billion, 10 billion pounds, because the pound's strong, right? Let's do that. So you ask yourself, let me just think about this as I'm saying. You ask yourself, we could stop selling these drinks, right? Because people are trying to sue us. But whenever people sue us, they only sue us in total, collectively, to the sum of $1 billion. So if you're making 10 billion and you only get sued $1 billion, all you then essentially need to do is maybe dissolve your company and then do that again and resell your drinks again, right? It's the cost of doing business. You're profiting 9 billion fucking pounds. So why would if you're only going to get sued $1 billion, fuck the world. And that to me is what they've learned. They learned that they can get away with it because people still got vaccinated.
They just remix it next time for the next thing.
So what people gonna do? Oh, what? Fuck Pfizer. Okay. Now you still got Moderna. You still got these other motherfuckers that are out there. Right. So tell me, bro, because because the asset management firms are all invested in them anyway. So who's really profiting? The asset management firms. It's like I don't know this to be true about these big pharma conglomerates. I don't know this. I can't remember, right? But I know that BlackRock, I know that State Street, I know that Berkshire Hathaway, I know that Vanguard are all invested in each other like weirdos, bro.
Yeah.
They're blue blood motherfuckers, bro, right? They're all, it's like ancestral, yes, right? So it wouldn't surprise me then if one of them is invested. Well, of course, if one of them is invested in one of these companies, then they're all invested in a company because they're all etc. So on and so forth. So it doesn't really matter because those are the people who are going to eat. Those are the people who are going to make the money at the end of the day. It's just the cost of doing business. So I don't really give a fuck because how many people globally took their poison? People are going to riot in the streets. Like I always say, Klaus Schwab says we need to prepare for an angrier world. This is before the COVID-19 vaccine was ever fucking produced. How would you know that, bro? Why would the world be angry? What's going to happen?
Right.
You see what I'm trying to say? So it's the cost of doing it's they've, I don't even know if they have learned anything. It's just business as usual, if anything. But they understand now that even though we have we are so interconnected. We have the internet, and we have built us a sort of parallel economy, if you would. People who do nothing. I've been advocating on. I'm gonna say that because it's YouTube, but I've been speaking nicely to people to kindly go out there and riot. Yes, like to push back, and they're like, "Oh yeah. What will they do? You'll do nothing. You'll do nothing." I'm out here, bro. I'm out here in this fucking streets talking with my megaphone, shouting to people, fucking let's do something about it. I'm screaming on Clubhouse daily. I just got tired of it. I'm tired of my soul, bro. The world doesn't want to actually do anything about it because they're too weak until somebody stands up and says, listen, they may take our lives, but they will never take our freedom. And then what happens generally to that person? They kill that person. And then you write books about him and they talk about him and say he was a great leader, but you still never fucking followed and did anything. We could fight back. It's like slavery is a choice. People are choosing to be enslaved today. It's 2023. Wake the fuck up. Again,
well, how much of that too, though, is part of that, back to that, fifth generation warfare thing, where it's like they have comforted us to death. They have comforted us into slavery. Like it's man, I can just chill and watch Netflix. I'm cool with this. Like you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like it reminds me of the stuff, because I remember I used to hear people say this sort of stuff about slavery itself, where it's like, there were people who back then talked about it like, well, yeah, but what are you going to do with freedom? That kind of thing. Like, what am I going to do if I have to go out there and like actually, talk face to face with people instead of Zoom calling with people? Like what? These are the sorts of things that people actually said as the lockdowns started to be lifted. They were like, man, I don't want to fucking go back to the office with these people. Right. And this is, so they basically, what they've been doing is they've been
grooming,
like you said, that yes, exactly. They've been grooming people, been grooming everyone in a certain direction. And then when they came with, it's that old Hegelian dialectic. It's like, well, so we have on the one side, you've got the patriarchy and all this other stuff that we're going to tell you is evil. On the other side is debauchery and comfort and hedonism. And what we're going to do is we are going to push you to the point where on the one side is you get to have all the stuff that you wanted anyway. And on the other side is those people are the people who actually are the evil ones that we're going to make you hate. So we have constructed this little funnel that sends you exactly where we want you to go in the first place. You put the shackles on yourself because they tell you these are good for you.
This is again. It's so the irony is not lost in me that I could literally reach over now and tell my Alexa to fucking turn the lights off. Computer, turn the light red.
Yeah.
Like it's not like, I mean, like, hello, like, am I joking, right? But that was a present for my ex, and I should actually just throw it in the bin, to be fair. Nah, she's all right, but she's doing her best. But again, she's part of the problem, right? People who are fully asleep. I turn off my Alexa every night when I can remember, right? But I understand that those who purchase their Alexas for $29.99 at Christmas because it's on sale are willingly accepting the technology that will be used to enslave them, right?
Yeah,
what the fuck are we talking about here? And so they've become masters at doing that, selling people the thing that they don't want, in order that the thing that will essentially be the thing that will keep them enslaved, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Because Amazon has their own private network. I say this all the time, their own private network. Amazon own Ring, they own the Echo, right? The Echo Dot, all that sort of shit, right? They have their own network that siphons 25% of your internet connection. Do you know about this? It's called Amazon Sidewalk, right? And how many people are out here, they don't even know the Echoes and the Rings. They have like these RF chips that can communicate with other devices in the area up to half a mile away,
right?
And they connect in this what are they called when you have Bluetooth to Bluetooth, these mesh networks,
right?
Right. And it's like, whoa, hold on, buddy, are you joking? What's all that about? I saw that the FBI were able to, or the police in America were able to cause Amazon to hand over information to help them with their investigation on a few cases. Now that's happening without you knowing. But had they said to you, we want to put a camera in your house so we can see who's coming and going, we want to put a microphone in your house so we can hear and eavesdrop on what you're saying, you would have said, go fuck yourselves.
Right.
But if it's on sale for $29.99 at Christmas,
Or in your hand, these right here.
And so you hit on it perfectly, because that's exactly what I was talking about, is that if they had pitched this stuff to us, let's say something like Alexa, or like the whatever you pick your poison, and I say that on purpose because it's literally what's happening. Pick your poison. If they came at you and said you have to do this or else,
right,
the resistance would be so much stronger than if they just made it really convenient and helpful.
right. Yeah.
That's why when you look at this stuff, and so one of the folks we've had on this show before, his name was Vin Armani. I mean, I guess it still is, but anyway, he goes by Cyprian now. He's converted to Orthodox Christianity, and that's his taken name as part of his conversion, whatever. Anyway, he talks about this, and he says, if you're looking at this from the standpoint of like charts and graphs, and this goes back to like the trust the science thing, because trust the science turned science into like a religion.
Mm-hmm.
And what he says is, like, if you're trying to argue with the people who did this who orchestrated this whole thing by using the charts and graphs about how it's not effective, it's not safe, it has this effect and this side effect and this, like, the people who bought it religiously, and you're not going to unconvert them. And the people who pushed it as a religion for you to drink in full sips, right? So what's going to happen is, if you're not seeing this for what it is, which is, this is another part of this 5th generation warfare where they are, and I don't want to keep going back to that same thing, but just, this is a part of how they're taking over the mind of humanity and the soul of humanity by putting people in a state of either fear or extreme comfort. Right. So on the one hand, you're motivated by fear. On the other hand, you're motivated by laziness and complacency. Yeah. So you're going to fall for whatever the next thing is. The next thing's probably the climate change stuff, because you already saw it. They had this big storm, and I heard another podcast. One of the folks that I'm friends with, he was talking about how they had people, as this big cold, this big ice storm was coming across the United States, they were like taking pictures of like them standing outside and, oh, it's cold. I don't know if it's ever been this cold. He's like, this is the same as the people who were saying like, oh yeah, man, I've never had a headache like this before. I've never had a cough like this before, or whatever. Like they told you, hey, here's this thing. It's like the flu. It's a cold, but it's going to be the worst cold you've ever had. Right. And so then people just like fed into it, and they were like, oh yeah, this is the worst cold I've ever had. You're right. It's just, you're going to fall for whatever the next thing is if you're not careful and if you're not pointing in the right direction. Yeah. So I don't want to go too far over. I know you said you had an hour. We've already gone over that. I want to give you some time now to kind of bring it back to the documentary, where you are in the process, when we should look to see this, and kind of what you have in the works and what it's going to take to get there, because I want to give you an opportunity to promote your crowdfunding and everything as well, and then we're going to show the trailer one more time before we wrap up.
No, awesome, man. Just before we do all of that, though, I just wanted to kind of make this point again. In the film The Matrix, Morpheus finds Neo to wake him up. Mm-hmm. He's told to follow the white rabbit. He wakes up. He's got superpowers. He's like Jesus Christ, right? But he's a dream within a dream, right? Mm-hmm. Right. So him waking up, he's not actually waking up. He's still a part of a system that's, he's part of a plan. He's part of a contingency. He's part of, they've used game theory to predict him, right? In fact, they've given him a life and an archetype to embody. And so when we say we are freedom fighters, that we're free, I want people to remember, ask yourself, are you free, or are you just another psychographic that can be recognized, right? Because if that's the case, what the fuck? And if that's the case, we're fucked, because these people know who we are, right? Yeah. And they're sending their sentinels to come and find us, right? Do you see what I'm trying to say to you, bro? So we have to then think about ways to be different to who we are, right? We have to evolve past what they perceive is possible for us. So I like what you're saying about, you know, you're saying that no, we're not saying that. We're saying maybe you're 2.0 right now. You need to get 10.6, right? You need to get to 11.5. What's the current model, software model of the Mac OS, right? You need to upgrade the fuck, right? 10x, motherfucker. Like, forget what you think you know, right? What you think you know about the world, what you think you know about these people. Forget all of that, because it's worse, right? However, these people only can manipulate. They can't create. They are archons.
There you
they
go.
Cannot, right?
There you go.
So they only can bend your mind, right? But what else happens in that film, the Matrix, right? He sees the little kid,
the spoon. Yeah.
What does he say?
There is no spoon.
How do you bend the spoon? Only try to realize the truth. What is the truth? What does he say? You go, no, let me get it verbatim. He goes, do not try to bend the spoon, but that is impossible. Only try to see the truth. What is the truth? There is no spoon. Then you will see that it is not the spoon that bends, but it's your own mind. And if you can understand that, we've already won. Because they only try to fuck with us to get us to bend our own, but we can bend it back. Right? There is no them that is more powerful than us.
Correct.
Because what the fuck are we talking about here, man? What, a couple of thousand of them and what, 8 point something billion of us? Are you joking?
Right.
So this is why I'm making this film, right? To get people to really just go, so this is what's been done to me. I want to get you pissed off. So then the next time that we're in the streets making our voices heard, maybe we won't just march. Maybe we'll do something, right? Maybe we'll challenge these motherfuckers, and maybe globally we'll actually start a fucking revolution. Because I'm sick and tired of people and their non-action. It's boring me, bruv. I'm bored, right? I'm bored. What I'm doing with this film, like I said, Act 1, I'm going to show you what manipulation tactics are out there, right, in the world, right? I'm going to show you the models, the mental models that exist out there, the manipulation tactics that exist, the ways of the dark triad individual, right? And then I'm going to show you exactly what I think happened and examples of this. I'm not even going to tell you that this is what this is. I'll let you play along with your little bingo card, and you can tell me whether or not it's this, that, or the rest of it. And then by Act 3, we're going to get to the point where we're going to interview people like yourselves, people on the other sides, people who are super pro-vax, who've got 17.69 million fucking vaccinations, and the other people like myself who've got none, right? And we're going to hear from all of those people, and then we're gonna see, right? And I'm going to leave you questioning the fucking science. I'm not here to conclude anything for you until we get to the next episode. I'll be like, did you like that, motherfucker? Now watch this. We got something else for you. Bang. And I think that's the best way to do it, because we have to take them through that Socratic method, of asking questions. So
it's the best way.
Absolutely.
So guys, if you're feeling it, go to www.trusttthescience.com. I'll say that again because I fucked it up. www.trusttthescience.com. One phrase, of course. And treat it like a Sunday service, man. Give generously. Like, we're trying to fix the roof, right? But no, look, anyway, in all seriousness, every donation is going to be put to good use. I'm not out here trying to eat at Hackersands. I'm going to be eating noodles for the next couple of months. It's going to take me 3-4 months to make. I'm hoping to get it done by June, July. The money's going to be put to hiring equipment, hiring teams around the world to go and conduct interviews on my behalf, because I can't fly anywhere because I haven't got the fucking vaccine, right? But no, it's going to be my greatest work. If you see my work, you'll see, you go to the page, you'll see some of my work. I'm good at what I do because I give a fuck about what I do, and I care enough to make it impactful enough for you to have been changed by the time you've seen anything that I've put out. So yeah, look, just if it resonates, do something about it. We're trying to start a fucking we're gonna start. I'm doing it, yeah, because you guys maybe are waiting for somebody to take the first step, and after it's done, let's see what happens.
We call this show The Evolution of the Revolution for a reason. That's what this is. This is episode 149 of The Evolution of the Revolution. So you're in good company as far as that's concerned. But I'm excited. I'm pumped to see it, and I hope everybody else who's been watching this goes to see it too. And if you don't know yet whether or not you want to watch this, well, then you got to check this trailer out. Here we go.
So Anthony Fauci, throughout the pandemic, especially in relation to the vaccine, kept using this term, trust the science.
Yes.
Now, that's one of the most unscientific statements I've ever
Exactly.
heard,
I kept
right?
thinking that.
Because medicine, first of all, is not an exact science, right? It's an applied science, not like physics or chemistry.
Right.
And the evidence changes. We're taught, for example, that 50% of what you learn in medical school will turn out to be either outdated or dead wrong within 5 years of your graduation. The trouble is nobody can tell you which half.
Right.
You have to learn on your own, right? So that didn't make any sense. So maybe Anthony Fauci doesn't, from my perspective, what I've seen, doesn't seem to have a basic understanding of evidence-based medicine, from what I've seen. That's
Seems that way to me too.
But in reality, and I don't mean that he was deliberately doing this, but in reality, from what we've discussed already, trust the science, in effect, we're saying trust the psychopath.
Boom.
There you have it. Augustus, my man, it's been a pleasure.
For sure. Thanks for joining us.
Really excited about getting to see this thing when it's finished, and hope everybody who can goes and supports the project, because I think this is something that needs to be done.
You know what? I just realized my girl just texted me. It's not trustthescience.com. It's trusttesciencemovie.com. I mean, I can't believe I just left that up.
Okay. Well, that's okay. All right. So the link is in the description, and it's the correct link. So it's all good.
Right.
You're good. Yeah. But yes, trusttesciencemovie.com. Go. Oh shoot! What is that? My bad. Hang on. Vimeo still.
So Chad's filming a porno.
No,
and
Vimeo played whatever the next thing was on after that trailer, and the music was playing in the background. Come on now. I don't roll like that. But no, this is really important, because I think yeah, to your point, like getting people to that mode of thinking, and really thinking, and starting to challenge even. And I like the fact that you're going at this approach with an unbiased perspective on, even though you have your own worldview that you come into it. We can't, every human being has this, and to pretend like we don't have that is really silly. The best thing that you can do is do what you're doing, which is like to meet that head on and say, okay, yes, I do come at it from this standpoint, and for that reason, I want to put this picture in as full color as possible, so that I'm gonna steel man the opponent's argument, so that way I know that I'm not just using my own bias to give myself a victory lap, and it goes back to this thing that Jimmy Coe 1 said: you can lead a man to knowledge, but you can't make him think. And that's the biggest thing, is just to get people to actually think. I don't need to tell you what to think. I just hope that you think. I hope that you find a way how to think, so that people can start to process this stuff in a way that takes them to that piece of the matrix that you so beautifully interwove into this conversation, which is like, yeah, we've got to start recognizing that we have the ability to kind of, I don't know, to create our own reality. Like you said, the folks that we're talking about are manipulators. They really struggle to create, and all they can do is take those of us who are creative and steer us in directions that we will create the reality that they want to see.
Yes.
Hug your family, love your friends, love your wife, hold everybody that you know dear, and learn compassion, learn morals, and learn ethics, and begin applying them. That's the solution to this problem. Thank you very much, Augustus. I've really enjoyed this. I look forward to the movie coming out. And until then, man, stay free.
Facts. Thank you, guys.
Peace.
Take care.
Yeah,
Peace.
Thank you, man. Peace.